Hi, Haley. I'm so excited for this final season. I'm particularly excited to see you with Billy Eichner. I was wondering, how was it filming those scenes? I mean, you go to a gay bar. How was it?
It was some of the most fun I've had during the making of this show. Uh, I was so excited when Elena told me that Billy Eichner was coming on to play Walt Whitman, none other than Walt Whitman in our show. And the fact that she, I believe, always had him in mind when writing this character. So to just sort of take a step back and see Elena's vision all come to life has been amazing, and to be so a part of it has been really awesome. And working with Billy was just, I was so blown away by his ability to come into our set that we have, it's very well established. We've been at this for 3 seasons now, and I continue to be so fascinated by our guest stars that come in and just sort of like take over, and in the best way possible. They come in and they just like absolutely crush it, and Billy did just that. He delivered such an electric and emotional performance. I was so moved by, and it all happened so quickly, by the way. But yes, we end up at a gay bar, and it was, again, like I mentioned, some of the most fun I've had in the entire making of this show. And it's kind of this coming out moment for Emily, where she gets to physically scream at the top of her lungs her truth, and sometimes we have to do that. Maybe it's not quite literally screaming it at the top of our lungs, but the minute we land on what that is, what our truth is, and who we are, and what it means to be ourselves unapologetically, it's very liberating. And Walt Whitman, Billy Eichner's character, is what brings Emily to this moment and brings it out of her. It's it's really great.
And you mentioned that this is like the liberation from the season we've really seen Emily evolve. How does it feel to then kind of say goodbye to Emily in this final season?
It feels, well, it's very bittersweet, of course. But in a way, I don't really feel like I'm saying goodbye to her. I might be saying goodbye to the fact that I'm not showing up at work every day at a very early hour to continue playing through this story. But I feel like her influence will be a part of my life forever. I have spent enough time with this character at this point to really feel like there's a sense of her that's kind of a part of me now. So as much as this show is coming to an end, I don't feel like it's, entirely over, if that makes sense.
And what will you take away from this particular season? We really saw her grappling with fame in the second. What's the crux of season 3 for you?
I think that this season sort of made me realize that you don't necessarily have to be in it on the front lines to talk about how you feel or how whatever it is that's going on is affecting you. And one thing that Emily never stopped doing was writing and speaking about what was on her mind. Whether or not she ever planned on people seeing or reading those particular thoughts, she always voiced them. And she had very strong opinions, and she was a very determined woman. And I just love the fact that during the Civil War, a time that happened to be her most productive time as a writer, is so fascinating to me that she was so moved by what was going on and was able to speak about it. And I think that was something that I really loved, and will take away from this season.
And of all the episodes so far, I personally love the Seance episode, but what will be one of your favorites to look back on?
Wow. I too love the Seance episode. One thing about this show is that every few episodes we have an experience like the Seance episode, or our circus episode, or we have a party in season 1, I think it's episode 3. And in between, it's sort of, we have these very grounded, very emotional and character-driven episodes that sort of keep this story going. But it's a show that I feel so lucky to be a part of because of the fact that we then get to, I mean, in this season, it takes us to places we've never even been, we've never touched on before. So I definitely don't know that I could pick a favorite. I'm kind of not landing on one because I just feel like all of them represent something different for me, and I love them all.
And my last question, this was obviously filmed, through COVID. What was your own personal experience, putting yourself back into the Civil War? Did you relate, I guess, in a sense? I mean, it feels so dramatic because you're like, it's the Civil War, but...
Sure, but yeah, I mean, in a way, this show and Elena Smith's ability to almost like see into the future through this show has always just been so almost shocking to me. Because yes, in shooting this season in the middle of this pandemic, it was a very wild experience. And to be playing these characters who are living through this, what, felt like a very hopeless time where the only news that they would ever receive was bad news, where this upheaval of the nation was becoming an upheaval in their family. I mean, there were a lot of parallels, as this show tends to have. But I do feel very grateful that we were able to make this show and include these messages in this show and these subject matters in this show that I hope people can see and relate to, and maybe it sparks conversations for them and their loved ones.